If you think about it, your commute to school has been free for over a year. If you count walking from your bed to your desk a commute, keep it going with free rides to real, actual campus aboard Long Beach Transit. Make the bus part of your routine. Visit ridelbt.com/students for more info.
Can a gambling establishment sponsor a student athlete? Let's say it's the Mirage Casino and Sportsbook, and they want to sponsor the football player. It's concerning. Did the football player trip on the 5-yard line, or did they fall down?
Welcome back to Beach Weekly, a podcast created and produced by Long Beach State student-run newspaper, The Daily 49er. My name is Leila Nunez, and I'll be your host for today. Keep listening for an interview with Executive Director of Athletics Andy Fee discussing the extension of the California Fair Pay to Play Act to college athletes. But first, let's get right into this week's news roundup. Long Beach State women's volleyball played against San Diego State this past Tuesday. Long Beach swept the game after 3 consecutive sets, resulting in a 3-0 victory. Long Beach State women's soccer played against Montana in their home opener on Thursday night. Although the Beach outshot the Grizzlies 26-4, the game resulted in a 1-0 loss. Friday night, Long Beach State men's water polo returned to the Ken Lindgren Aquatic Center to play against UCLA. After a close halftime score of 5-2, UCLA took the lead the rest of the game, resulting in a 9-6 victory for the Bruins. Moving on to news, student government's new president, Jesus Gonzalez, is ready to create change within the community this year. Student government also addresses concerns over lack of campus amenities and announces an increase in financial aid grants across various departments. Long Beach State kicks off Latinx Heritage Month with a celebration of culture and will continue to host community building workshops, entrepreneurship lessons, and more throughout the duration of Latinx Heritage Month. The Parkview Village Festival welcomed more than 50 local businesses this past week. The festival will take place every second Saturday of the month. Read more in the Arts and Life section on daily49er.com. Also, check out the latest episode of At the Beach, a series about campus fashion brought to you by Editor-in-Chief Ashley Ramos. This week, it smells like 90s fashion. Lastly, hundreds marched outside Long Beach City College in support of the recall of Governor Gavin Newsom. Watch the video created by Daily 49er video team to discover what happened after Joe Biden's visit to Long Beach. For the first time ever, college athletes are allowed to sign endorsement deals and earn compensation after the NCAA's recent change to their name, image, and likeness rules. Podcast editor Jeremy Taylor and sports editor Matthew Brown sit down with Andy Fee to discuss the impact this new change will have on athletes. And that's all for this week. Head on over to daily49er.com where you can read more campus and Long Beach related news, as well as check out multimedia content like this podcast. You can also follow us on Instagram and Twitter at Daily49er.
Southland is bringing its credit union experience to the Long Beach State campus. As a student of Long Beach State, you are eligible to join with access to our new University Student Union branch, student loan services, free checking, and free financial educational resources. Visit Beach CU for more information.
On September 1st, through the urgency statute, Governor Gavin Newsom signed into act the Fair Pay to Play Act. This grants college athletes in California the right to hire agents and be paid for endorsements. As a result, college athletes will for the first time be allowed to financially benefit from their name, image, and likeness to promote products and companies. I sat down with Cal State Long Beach Athletic Director Andy Fee to see how this new law will impact the university and its athletes.
But, I think in the grand scheme, for me, I support the changes. There's always concerns, but, the one constant in life is change. And I think so much has changed within college athletics, it's difficult to just say, well, we're going to do the same as we did 100 years ago. So the law moved up. We had to create an interim policy to provide direction for student athletes. We pretty much mirrored what the state law would be in terms of what they could and couldn't do. We were very, I would say, permissive in terms of wanting and hoping to help student athletes, cash in on their name, image, and likeness.
Okay. What about the lack of regulation or a clearinghouse in regards to monitoring these endorsements?
So that's the concerning part. And I think prior to the law going into effect, it was very wide in terms of there wasn't really a guardrail, meaning, can a gambling establishment sponsor a student athlete? Let's say it's the Mirage Casino and Sportsbook, and they want to sponsor the football player. It's concerning. Did the football player trip on the 5-yard line, or did they fall down because their employer had money going one way or the other? So the gambling aspect is concerning to me. I know each state is addressing it differently. There's reputational things. Do we want student athletes endorsing marijuana? That's certainly it's a legal thing here in California, but the NCAA, it is an illegal substance. So do we want an athlete endorsing something that is permissible in the state of California, yet at the NCAA level, which we compete, is impermissible? So I think working through the student athletes is really the biggest piece of this, is educating them. So educating them on their brand. How do we help the student athletes increase their brand reputation? Because that's the biggest way that they're going to monetize it, is by a great reputation. So they need to be very involved in their own management of that. So educating them on that, educating them on the rules. For example, let's say I got a $10,000 deal from the local Toyota dealership. Well, if I'm on aid or if I'm on a Pell Grant, that could impact my Pell Grant. So you could just be exchanging dollars at that point. You could get $10,000 from the Toyota dealership, but then lose $10,000 in Pell, Cal Grant, or something like that. Paying the taxes on earned income, that's a different piece too. So really, it's trying to educate the student athletes that they make good choices, because you hope that people don't prey on these athletes and take advantage of them, and they're younger and they may not be familiar with how the law system works in terms of contracts, because we don't get involved in the negotiation of any of these contracts. So we'll talk to the student athlete, and ultimately they need to share with us what they're doing, but we don't go to the table with them and say, oh no, you got to change this and do that. It's up to the student athlete to do that. So there's a lot of pressure on these athletes.
Who is in charge of it, or is there anybody other than maybe the head coach or yourself in charge of advising these students, saying, hey, or at least sitting down and saying, looking at the paperwork and making sure this kid isn't getting themselves into, something that they're not ready to handle?
So, it's difficult for coaches because you don't want to be, on the hook as official representation for a student athlete. I think what we're trying to do is educate them and help them maybe connect to people that will help them, that aren't going to take advantage of them, and make introductions and say, hey, here's someone you might want to talk to, where it goes from there. But the way it works is a student athlete with an agent or a representative or on their own would come to us and say, hey, I've got a deal for company X. Then we would have a conversation. They would need to supply us the agreement that they have. It goes to our compliance office. And then the senior women's administrator, myself, and our compliance director, we all look at it to ensure that it fits the law and that all of those I's are dotted and T's are crossed. But it is, you hope that, is the student athlete signing something that is in perpetuity? I mean, are they signing, and that's the delicate piece. We cannot advise them on tax information or financial aid. That's on them. Now, we can educate them on those things, which is what our compliance office does. So we talk to the student athletes and say, hey, here are the things you need to probably consider. Mm-hmm. Now, at the end of the day, the student athlete needs to ensure that they're doing that. But that's, again, the big piece of the puzzle, is educating them so that they make good choices that actually help them.
When you say they're being educated, what kind of, is this like a group seminar? Is this based on team basis? Or as far as like the basketball players are sat down with one day, softball sat with another day? Can you tell me about a little bit of the education process from the university, what they're doing to help the athletes?
Yeah, so through the compliance office, our compliance director goes through the nuts and bolts of what the law is and what it means. Then it's more of a case-by-case, team-by-team We have some teams that have student athletes who are way more engaged in these things. So we've identified those teams, and then also offer the opportunity for student athletes to raise their hand, so to speak, if they want some one-on-one counseling in terms of that. But we have brought in some folks to talk to student athletes from some of the teams. We're going to be working with the basketball teams to bring somebody in to talk to them as a group. And there's no arrangement between that person and the teams. It is literally someone from the industry that can just talk to them and help them. And then really it does come down to the raising of the hand. So the student athlete can always raise their hand and say, hey, I need some more help here. Can you talk to me a little bit about what is it, when you say taxes, what does that mean? What do I need to look out for? So we can educate them on that. So literally it's opening the conduit between student athletes and the campus, the athletic department, to provide resources to help them, because this is, for a lot of them, waters they've never navigated before.
For everybody across the board, I imagine, too.
Correct, yeah, for all of us, and especially them, they probably never thought, well, now I'm going to have company X, but, hey, if, you need to comply and post whatever number of social media posts, or you need to make appearances, or again, this amount of income, you need to probably find someone, a tax attorney or somebody that can explain if it's, a certain valuation on the agreement. So there's a lot of nuance to all of this, which probably things have hurried along very quickly, and maybe in a more perfect world, a slower approach, I hate to use the term slower, but slower would have allowed everybody to maybe get up to speed more quickly, because it depends. Some people may have access to big-time agents who are going to figure it all out for the student athlete. And then there's a student athlete who kind of maybe doesn't have a relationship or knows somebody who's an agent, and they're going, well, how do I sit down at a table and negotiate my value? So I think there's a lot of learning curve going on.
How do you see it impacting the integrity of collegiate sports? I mean, obviously, the dark side is, hey, why don't you miss a couple extra jump shots? You strike out a couple extra times this week, and really compromising the spirit of athletic competition. What is it that you guys are trying to do to monitor that?
So it's really, as always, looking at those relationships. It is concerning because, our boosters funneling money. So is it company X and a bunch of boosters get together and give company X some money, and then company X hires, 10 football players or whatever athletes to show up, and are they really working? What are they doing? Or what are they being asked to do? Hey, the point spread's 10. Just want to let you guys know that. I mean, I want to believe that everything's on the up and up. And we have great student athletes, so I'm not sitting here questioning it. But money can be a great thing and it can be a dangerous thing. And I would hope that people aren't put in a position that they feel that they might be compromised, asked to do anything that is wrong, whether it's, something around gambling or just personal behaviors. But it is concerning because, we can monitor as much as we can, but because we're not involved in these arrangements, I wouldn't even know company X who's involved in it, or are they just funneling money through it? There's really no work being done, and it's just, here's 50 grand to come play here. So I think we're going to see where that goes. Now, having said that, I think it's probably at institutions with extremely high profile football programs and basketball programs that probably or might face these issues. Could it happen here? Yeah, I guess it could, but I don't know if we have athletes, and maybe we will, it'd be great, whose valuations are going to be so high that might get into the realm of questionable actions or anything like that.
Is there a cutoff date for when they can accept a sponsorship, or as far as it needs to be done, as far as in-season athletes, say, is it supposed to be done before season? Can they do it in season? The reason why I ask you this is to piggyback off that other question, is because you said like bigger universities, like maybe a Power 5 school, may be more susceptible to wrongdoing due to gambling. But let's just say that Tommy Jones comes up to a basketball player and you guys are getting an at-large bid in the NCAA tournament, and he's like, hey, I really, here's a sponsorship. I'll give you the sponsorship, for you to do this. Like, is there a window with that, or they can just accept sponsorships all year long?
All year long. And the state law, it's very permissive. And the authors of the bill have stated over and over, Senator Skinner, the primary author of the bill, about wanting to empower athletes, and that sounds great to me. My concerns aren't about restricting athletes, it's that we do it the right way. And instead of rushing, I think what I would have enjoyed personally was an opportunity to bring many people to the table to discuss these issues. Student athletes, for sure, they're the primary folks involved in this, but conference commissioners, presidents or chancellors, athletic directors, staff, some coaches. How does this all play out? Because there are really no restrictions. So you're right. Yeah, if I know a team's going to the NCAA basketball tournament, well, hey, will you endorse company X? And by the way, there's a couple games I got circled on there. And weirder things have happened. And the sad part is, on those kinds of things, it's not easy to find that out on the front end. It's usually the back end. At the end of the day, as the old saying, people talk, right? So on the front end, someone may not know what's going on. And again, I hope,
right,
and I believe that the majority of student athletes are going to do the right thing, but unfortunately, those things have happened around gambling in college athletics over the years. You go back 70 plus years, and there were gambling point shaving scandals across the country. And I think without having thoughtful, as I call them, guardrails, it is concerning. Again, it might work out that there's no problems and no issues, but we could also find ourselves 6 months from now going, oh man, what did we do, or what happened? I think on the front end, I'm anticipating that I think things will work out. I'm an optimist by nature, but I think there are issues that, I hate to say it, could spike up and be big stories and negative stories around what's happening.
Well, it's funny that you mentioned issues. Unfortunately, sometimes money corrupts. If there was a case of wrongdoing, what has the university done to protect themselves from potential sanctions?
Well, that's where I think we're in this gray area. So let's say a student athlete threw a game or something like that. Certainly they're going to be responsible for that, but is the NCAA going to go, well, the institution, you didn't do a very good job of monitoring what was going on, so now we're going to put you as an institution 2 years banned from postseason play because you had a point shaving scandal or you had wrongdoing, whatever that might be. So it is scary because you kind of go, well, what am I supposed to do?
Right.
I can't pry into this world because I've been told I can't do this and I can't do that. So I kind of have to hope that they do the right things. But bad actors could cause penalties that go beyond just those actors themselves, which would be an institution or an athletic department. So, I think it's a legitimate concern. What are the odds of it happening? Great, maybe not. But I certainly would not say it's impossible or improbable. Again, these things have happened over the years, unfortunately.
Right. For those who don't know, who's never been a scholarship athlete, can you talk about, as an incoming student athlete, what a full scholarship all entails for me? What are the benefits? What do I receive as far as if I were to commit to Long Beach State?
Yeah, so an in-state scholarship at Long Beach State's about $23,000, which it covers basically all of your expenses: housing, books, your fees, tuition, everything, meal plan, everything that is considered full cost of attendance. We can also give, on top of that, cost of attendance, which is a bylaw that was added in NCAA a few years ago, which here is an additional $3,100. That number is set by the university, not by the athletic department, but we can also offer that on top of a full scholarship. So does that probably cover maybe everybody's your expenses? Probably not, right? I mean, there's other ancillary expenditures that come up. But if you're on a full scholarship, you should be able to walk away with little to no debt. Now, the reality, though, is most student athletes are not on full scholarships. Here, the NCAA has what's called head count sports and equivalency sports. A head count means you're either on a full ride or nothing. Equivalency means I can give you 75%, 100%, 25%. Most of our student athletes are in sports that are equivalency sports, meaning that coaches have to spread money out across an entire roster. So most student athletes are not on a full athletic ride. So this is where something like name, image, likeness could be a benefit.
Do you have any athletes that are on full scholarships?
So we do. So men's and women's basketball are on full scholarships. Those are head count sports. Women's tennis and women's volleyball are the sports here that we sponsor that are head count sports. So on those teams, you're on a full ride or nothing. You're either a walk-on, full scholarship. The other 15 sports that we have 19 overall, are all equivalency sports.
Even baseball?
Even baseball. So baseball, they're allowed to have, and the numbers to the average person will go, it doesn't even make sense. You get 11.7 scholarships. That's the maximum you can use. So we give out 11.7, but it's split out amongst 35 players.
Okay.
So you could have somebody, if you have somebody that's just an unbelievable athlete, you could put them on a full ride.
But that only leaves you with 10.7 left.
Correct.
Got it. Okay.
So you have to be really wise with your scholarship dollars.
You have to really believe that this person's going to make a difference in your program.
Correct.
So given that you are a D1 school, do you think this act will open the door to the beach getting some talent that, like upper echelon talent? You notice that, like, say in the softball tournament, a lot of California softball players go to out-of-state universities. Will this act help Long Beach be able to retain some of those upper echelon athletes and be able to keep them in state here now that we have this act passed?
Well, I think so. I think living here in Southern California, in Long Beach, in LA County, in the greater LA metro area, is a really great draw. This is the hub of sports and arts and music and industry. This is a great place to be. Now, it's a world that is, on the internet, and it doesn't mean you have to live in LA, but it's a great place to be, a great draw. There are companies based here close to campus that might want to have ties to our campus and see a student athlete as a great ambassador. So we'd like to think that if we can leverage our location, the people that are affiliated with us, we'd like to think that we can hold talent here. It will be really interesting to see how this kind of plays out. Will it not matter at all? Will you see athletes go to major metropolitan areas, New York, San Francisco, LA, Chicago, or will it kind of stay the same and the internet will run name, images, likeness? But we like to think that this is a great draw for Californians to stay here and reap the reward of living in a very dynamic environment.
Do you see a change in the amount of scholarships you're going to be able to give now that this act has been instituted?
So it'll be interesting to see what the NCAA does. Will they kind of say, well, this is the way to help students reduce debt, walk away? Or will the NCAA say, hey, this is a great opportunity to maybe look at, should we have 15 scholarships for baseball instead of 11.7? Should we have 14 for softball instead of 12? Whatever it might be. I don't know. I wouldn't necessarily hold my breath for that. So I always think of student athletes, we want them to walk away from here with a great athletic experience and a great academic experience and the least amount of debt as possible. So that's why I'm torn a little bit, because I want our student athletes to walk away with little to no debt, but I don't want them to be stuck. I signed a deal and I didn't realize what was going on, and I just signed my likeness away for 10 years. So I don't want someone to get the negative part of what this is, because it is pushed through so quickly.
But there's only so much you can do to keep that from happening.
Correct. And that's why we want to keep educating and talking to them and making sure that they feel comfortable. Come to us. I mean, we may not be able to answer or tell you what to do, but perhaps we can help you, guide you to where you need to go. Hey, you need to find someone that can help you specifically with this topic, versus them not coming to us and not talking to us. So it's a weird spot because we only have so much influence in this area because it is so permissive for the student athletes. It's not like the student athletes have to come in and go, can I please, sign with company X? Assuming that it's not a very bizarre situation, the answer is they don't have to ask permission. As long as it complies with the state law, they can kind of do whatever. And it's a very permissive state law, which might be a good thing, and it could be a really scary thing. And again, I want to be positive. I want to believe that this is going to be good. Right. I hope that it's good. But, as you said, money can corrupt. That makes things that maybe at a certain time might be an easy decision. Of course I'm going to do the right thing. But suddenly, I got to pay my bills, and, maybe I have a family I need to take care of. My parents need help, whatever it might be. And, what do I got to do? I don't want student athletes put in a position where they have to sacrifice their ethics, morals for money. And I hope that we're not in that situation. Our student athletes are in that situation. And again, I think we just need to keep educating them.
Bradley Vincent once said, "Money is a tool. Used properly, it makes something beautiful. Used wrong, it makes a mess." College sports heads into uncharted territory. The future is uncertain. It could be a beautiful thing, or it could be a hot mess. My name is Jeremy Taylor, and for Leila Nunez, this has been Beach Weekly. We'll talk to you soon. 8 a.m. exam crams are what we do at the beach. So is riding the bus for free. Long Beach Transit is now offering free rides to campus, work, and home to start the semester. Save on parking and make the bus part of your routine. Visit ridelbt.com/students for schedules and route information.